Have you ever been jolted awake at 2 a.m. by a scaling emergency? If so, you're not alone. What do you do to avoid this? Well, today you're in luck because joining us in this episode is Jennifer Rahmani, a co-founder and COO of Thoras.ai, a company redefining how infrastructure scales with AI-driven predictive technology. And drawing from her years as a DevOps engineer in the defense tech sector, Jennifer shares how she and her twin sister turned real-world frustrations into a reliability-first platform that eliminates the guesswork from scaling. We discuss how Thoras.ai integrates with Kubernetes to predict workload demand minutes or even hours in advance, allowing teams to maintain high availability without overspending. Jennifer also explains why they use the right AI for the right use case and how their predictive autoscaling works in multi-cloud and hybrid environments, and how it helps SREs avoid downtime during unpredictable events like Black Friday or major product launches. Whether you're dealing with noisy data, high cloud bills, or sleepless nights worrying about reliability, this episode is going to help you learn more how to make smarter scaling decisions. You don't want to miss it. Check it out. This episode is proudly sponsored by the folks at SmartBear, empowering teams to build, test, and deliver great software faster. Explore how SmartBear is bringing AI to the forefront of DevOps, quality engineering, helping organizations accelerate test creation, optimize automation, and to drive smarter decision-making across your software development lifecycle. Check them out. Learn more using that special link in the comments down below. Hey, Jennifer, welcome to the Guild.
Hey, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Excited about this interview. I saw an article on your company and your founding, and I thought, wow, this would be a great episode. So before we get into the meat of the episode, I'd like to learn about the guests, maybe how you got into tech, how you got into DevOps and SRE.
Yeah, can definitely go into it. So prior to Thorus, I spent about 9 years as a DevOps engineer, and a lot of my focus was on deploying monitoring solutions for the defense tech world. And during this, firsthand, I experienced a lot of my own frustrations with the tools that I had. I just found that it required a lot of my guesswork and intuition. For a lot of my job, I would, have to set up scaling policies for infrastructure, figure out what are the thresholds for alerts. And, I just thought we were very reactive with the way we were doing all of this and using like a lot of guesswork. So, with working with so much data, it became easier to just throw money at the problem. So we would monitor it and ingest anything and everything. We would over provision and have extra compute at hand. And, I also started to see this industry change where cost started becoming very important, especially with with the rise of GPUs. We had to start being more mindful of cost, but also make sure that performance and reliability isn't impacted. So I thought to myself, there has to be a better, more proactive, less firefighting way to make better data-driven decisions about how to scale and measure infrastructure without a trade-off between, being more performant and reliable and being more cost efficient. So I teamed up with my co-founder and we started Thorus. And the whole idea was, let's develop this reliability first machine learning driven platform to empower engineers to run their infrastructure more efficiently, eliminate waste, better safeguard, and be able to plan for growth as their environments evolve and prevent downtime.
Love it. Love it. So I guess there's a little more to your co-founder. Not only is it your sister, I think, but I believe it's your twin sister. So I have 3 older sisters. I can't imagine going in business with them if they were a twin. I would think it'd be even difficult. Like why that as your co-founder just happened by chance, or is this something you've always planned?
Not anything we've ever planned it.
Okay.
It's actually pretty funny, Joe. We ended up kind of working in similar fields, kind of accidentally. She was a site reliability engineer. She did work also in the defense tech world, but she also transitioned more towards commercial. So, it's funny, dinner table conversation would become about work, and a lot of the problems that we were seeing, venting to your family is a very common thing to do during family dinner. And one thing we started to kind of see is, we're seeing a lot of the same frustrations. We're both very much engineers, never really expected to become founders, never thought we would. But we realized that, her and I have very complementary skills. And we have a lot of similar experience, but kind of in different domains. Mine was more towards monitoring. Hers was more towards the infrastructure side. And she also has a little bit of an ML background as well. And we decided why not do this, right? Nothing like this exists. Let's build the tool that we wish we had.
Love it. Love it. I also would be scared. I mean, I got laid off and I just started my own thing. I didn't have a good gig and I just started, my own business. What drove you to that point though? Was it like an aha moment? I know you mentioned a bunch of different issues you had at work, but were there no toolings that existed that addressed, all these issues that you had?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think it was naturally with like the pain points and the way that the industry was going. One thing, again, I think with the frustration of just firefighting, always having to be on call, that becomes very tiresome. A lot of weight gets put on the reliability engineer. It's very high stakes. And once outages happen, we're digging through our monitoring tools. We're trying to figure out the cause. We're realizing that a lot of the issues we're finding, maybe there was a more proactive way to kind of get ahead of it. Naturally, as SREs, we love to find things to automate. A couple other things contributed. I think one was the rise of Kubernetes also that ended up being our first, wedge focus. Kubernetes is a fantastic technology, but Joe, I'm sure it's very complicated in its own way, and you have to really enable it to kind of be more proactive. So with the way like Kubernetes works, right, is you have your real-time scalers, it's very reactive. And often, you're kind of eyeballing your metrics and your data from your observability tools, and you're reacting. And, as engineers, Nilo and I, my co-founder, we were updating our scaling policies like very manually. So when, we would get hit with a traffic surge, we would go in and quickly update the policy. And the problem with that is, the applications, a lot of times they have long startup times. So there would be latency already. The other problem too is, especially if you're starting to use GPUs or more compute intensive servers, you have to be able to go ahead and quickly get that compute. And oftentimes, try to get the GPU, wait for it to initialize, wait for your applications to load up. It's just too reactive. And we realized that, I think with the rise of AI, even though we're using more traditional machine learning for our tech, there is now more of an appetite for engineers to use AI in general. So we're starting to, we very much believe use the right AI for the right use case. And that was one thing that kind of, I think, helped with this. Okay, now's the right time. AI adoption is at its rise. The problem is getting worse. Data is becoming more noisy. Environments are becoming more compute intensive. I think now is the prime to do it. And who else is going to build it if we don't, right?
Absolutely. So you made a good point, the rise of AI, but like you mentioned, you're using machine learning. And I think, does that like kind of not taint, but like give people a wrong impression, they're just jumping on the AI bandwagon when it sounds like this is a great problem that machine learning was made for almost, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So one thing we kind of set out to do with Thorus was, have this reliability first platform that uses the right AI for the right use case, right? And the way we kind of envision is we're starting with machine learning because it's a safe, easy adoption for infrastructure engineers to use AI because this is very new for many of them. And we realized that, there's different types of AI. There's LLMs, you have traditional machine learning. And I think for the right use case, it just makes sense to figure out what type of AI to use. So for example, there's a lot of buzz right now with using large language models for part of the SRE workflow. I think it's very good and useful for postmortems, going through logs, natural language. But for the type of scaling decisions that we're focusing on with Thorus, it's more numerical statistical data, and it's actually better to use more lightweight performant machine learning models rather than an LLM. Why use an airplane when you can drive a car, right?
Right.
For a shorter distance, especially if it's cheaper and very efficient.
Weird question. Why the name Thorus? I know Thor is the god of thunder. I don't know, is Thorus or a derivative of that?
Yeah, it actually is. So you got it right. It is thunder, but the AS at the end makes it plural, and it's also the feminine version.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, the two female co-founders, Thorus, and the whole idea that, we're building this platform that helps give the right actionable insights. And it, is very game changing in the way that we manage infrastructure today.
Love it. Love it. Now you've also gotten some investment as well. What's the pitch you're given that resonates with people that are looking to invest in companies? Did they know like Kubernetes is a pain and therefore, it's this is a no brainer? Like what was the hook that got people like, oh, I want to be a part of this?
Yeah, I think one big part of it, Joe, is the fact that Milo and I have lived and breathed this on our own. We've worked firsthand for 9 years in the space. We've dealt with the frustrations. We know the pain points. I think that's very appealing for investors. But also at the same time, we try not to introduce too much of our bias. We were very, very big when we raised our first round. We were talking to customers about their pain points. We were figuring out who is the ICP we want to go for. And, we started to realize that with our customers, they are a group that cares a lot about cost savings. They don't want to overspend anymore. They also care about reliability. They want to always make sure that they're highly available. Performance is never impacted. They want that to get better, if anything. They're sick of that trade-off. They don't always want to be on call for issues that could have been prevented in the first place. And they're also really curious about AI. But we also find, Joe, that our investors, our customers, they're a very AI savvy group in the fact that they know that with the AI hype that's going on, yes, AI is very promising, but let's make sure that the folks that are pioneering these solutions are actually pioneering the right ML for the right use cases. So I think it was we have the expertise. We're very educated about the types of customers, and we do a lot of our research. And also we're very big on, using the right type of AI.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, you both have deep expertise in SRE. So when you speak with customers, they could probably tell it's not BS. But you must have had a notion of what you wanted to create. Did it turn out to be different than what you got into live when talking to customers? Like, hey, this is actually they're using it for things that we didn't think about, or this is an issue that this really helps with that we weren't anticipating.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So when we first got into it, actually what was really interesting is, we knew we wanted to build for Kubernetes. What we decided to tackle, right, is to kind of give you an idea of what we do with Thorus is we built a predictive autoscaler that integrates into your infrastructure. And what it'll essentially do is it'll use multi-signal intelligence. So it combines like infrastructure metrics with real world signals that tie into your infrastructure and better signal, when you need to scale. And so what we do is, we forecast what is going to be workload demand in 5 minutes, an hour, 6 hours, whatever. And we use that to basically scale your infrastructure in advance. And we'll also take a look at the real time to make sure you're covered in the meantime if it's an unprecedented spike that our models haven't seen before. And so, we knew that the industry didn't have this today. The way that scaling works today is very real time. It's very reactive. What that causes engineering teams to do, what we had to do was operate at a low level of utilization. Most of our customers, before they start using us, they're at 40 to 50% utilization. So that means you're leaving 50 to 60% of your servers unused, just at hand, just in case. And so we discovered, with this technology, if we can anticipate, we can bring them to 85% utilization or more. And we can also help make sure that we scale them before the usage spikes. We created this for that Black Friday use case. You would get the unexpected product launch or unexpected, spike in traffic, and you don't really quite know what that's going to look like. And so usually you over provision, but you can still get it wrong. The whole idea with Thorus, right, is, we can ingest whatever meaningful metrics and help predict and get ahead and make sure you have the right capacity so that, you have just enough capacity to make sure you're highly available, but you're not massively over provisioning. So that we got right. I think what we didn't realize is how widely applicable the technology is. We got into it for customers that have very variable traffic patterns, but we started also getting customers who are just massively adopting Kubernetes. They want to, be able to manage that with less overhead, less complexity. But also, sometimes they just want to stop eyeballing the dashboards and figuring out how to scale. They want to have better, developer velocity and push out code and not have to worry as much about that infrastructure piece of semantically scaling.
Very cool. So I started my career as a performance testing engineer. So I have to put on a load and, staging to try to represent what I think was going to happen in production. It was never the same and was always difficult. It sounds like this could almost fill that gap. So does it listen to your traffic then and tell you, hey, with the forecasting, you should probably anticipate a load of XYZ in the month of blah, blah, blah? Or like how close does it get to, leading indicators without you having to jump in? I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. So how it works, right, is it integrates directly into your Kubernetes metrics. So, it installs in minutes via like a single Helm chart command. And so we run air gap today, so like no data comes out from your environment, which is really fantastic, especially for our customers in more regulated spaces. But we basically will ingest with whatever metrics you have, as long as you have data in your environment that is helpful for determining, when to scale, whether it's in any of the major observability tools somewhere in your cloud environment. We can basically grab that data, ingest it, train our models to forecast what is the pattern going to be in, an hour, 6 hours, whatever that's going to be. And so we'll give you the recommendation for right sizing your pods, but also for scaling. So you can, run in recommendation mode, but typically most of our customers will turn us in autonomous mode, which means we will go ahead and take our metrics, our predictions. We'll take a look at the real time as well, and we'll just start scaling your infrastructure as a result. And what that does is actually very powerful, right? One, it helps as you're pushing your code through production. A lot of times you have very unknown situations. If you think of like the CrowdStrike outage, right, where someone pushed out a change and they weren't sure, how it was going to affect production, it led to a big outage. What a situation like that could actually be prevented, right? Because we can start simulating a lot of those changes in the lower environment and kind of figure out, what is going to be the impact and make sure that you're fully covered against the unexpected and unknown as you're pushing to production and running in production.
Nice. So here's a dumb use case, very small. I run webinars, and we're doing a new system. And sometimes when you run a webinar, you get like 200 concurrent users trying to log in at the same time. Using this technology, would you be able to beforehand say, hey, I'm having a webinar on this date, I anticipate this? So rather than have it guess, let it know, hey, this is something you should be looking at?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Exactly. And that's the premise of it, right? You have a webinar in this example, and you kind of have an idea of how many users you're going to have, but not really, right? You could be completely off. So typically how this works without a solution like Thorus, right, is you just guess and you hope for the best and you think, I'm hopefully going to have this many users and let's just provision it that way. And as you see more users logging on, you quickly make changes to be able to scale. But the problem is if you get it wrong and you have to manually scale, your webinar users are probably having issues getting on there and they're experiencing latency. But with Thorus, since we're integrating with more of the metrics that are meaningful for determining how much traffic you're going to get to hit that webinar, we actually will anticipate it in advance. So the whole idea is all your users can get on there no matter what the scale ends up being. We're reacting very quickly to manage that scaling. But you're also not overspending just in case and keeping that extra compute.
Very cool. And obviously it helps, it shuts down resources that it knows it's not in use. So you don't have to always look, I guess, or have like set times that you guess, like during nighttime, it's not going to be a peak when you don't necessarily know. This automatically does that for you.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. So when you deploy us, we start learning the workload pattern. We'll take care of like that scaling decision. And so, we'll scale you up or increase your pod sizes when, where you're expected to get more traffic in advance. But we'll also scale you down and shut everything down during those periods of low traffic. But think of Thorus as, always kind of having that eye out so that you can sleep soundly just in case you get more traffic at an unexpected hour. We're also reacting very quickly and learning what those patterns are as they evolve over time.
Nice. So you didn't mention Black Friday. It always amazes me how many times huge companies get this wrong. And it's not too far away. So definitely using a solution like this will definitely help them out. Do you find that that's an easy sell, that example, when you go to a company, hey, Black Friday is coming, or do people not get it and it's still a hard education you need to do?
Yeah. So the Black Friday use case, I like saying it, Joe, because it's a very understandable use case because
right.
Everyone pretty much knows what Black Friday is. So I think it really does help demonstrate. Now, I use it as a starting point because, not everyone is affected by Black Friday, but it does help paint the analogy of how that Black Friday use case is. And this is one thing I learned right from, from us working with Thorus and continue to mature the platform and serve more customers. That Black Friday use case ends up lending itself to any unexpected event. And if you think about it, like what is an unexpected event, right? It's typically as your environments change, as more code gets pushed out, your applications get heavier, your traffic gets heavier, you do product launches. All of that are kind of similar to the Black Friday use case in the sense that on a smaller or different scale, you don't know what your traffic patterns are going to be. You don't know what your scaling should look like. So it's the whole idea of whenever you have your environment's changing in some type of unknown pattern, having Thorus be able to, it illustrates that Thorus is able to better insulate and take care of that scaling efficiently, but more reliably, so you're covered no matter what.
So this may not be a case. Can it be used for security? Say someone's trying to take down your website. Will it notify you, hey, you're getting some really odd behavior here based on a forecast? You might want your security team to jump in or something like that.
Yeah. And that is one piece too. We believe in helping to take care of the pieces of automating infrastructure and scaling that engineers don't have to manage, but also giving engineers the right alerts about what they need to know about so they can go ahead and take action and be informed. So that is exactly how it works, right? We'll take care of the scaling, but we'll also kind of let you know of those anomalies and weird types of issues in your environment that, hey, you should take a look at, and this is where it's going on, and this is what else it might be affecting. But yeah, that's a great question. That's exactly a very realistic use case, actually, that we help with.
Very cool. I also know sometimes companies are really cost conscious. Does this give you like, hey, you saved X amount of dollars using Thorus this month or anything like that?
Yeah. So when customers deploy us, we made sure that we baked the cost savings and ROI up front. So we're constantly telling customers, how much they're saving using Thorus, how much they could save using Thorus. We're also giving them more of an idea of, as they continue to grow, what, help them be able to plan for the capacity better. We're very, very big on, even though we take a reliability first approach, and we believe that reliability is the number one KPI. We know that cost is very important, so that is something that we make sure is very clear in our product.
Who's the perfect use case for this product? Is it, say someone has a greenfield application, or like, do you have a certain you're probably better off if you're already in production because then we can work off real data and historic data, or does it matter?
So we have customers across like a whole broad of industries, right? So we have e-commerce, we have B2B, we have cybersecurity, we have ad tech, health tech. We find that, as long as you have data in the cloud, you're using Kubernetes, we can help scale your applications better. We do see a whole range of use cases. There's a lot of migrations today. We actually help really well with that also, because if you're migrating to Kubernetes or migrating to different cloud platforms, it really does help to have a platform that helps take a look at your evolving traffic patterns and workload needs and help, inform you with the right insights to be able to take those decisions. So very open-ended, right? We can support any use case, anyone that's running these applications in the cloud. But it is interesting that we are seeing a lot of migrations, and we're also able to help with that as well.
Very cool. So besides migration, I know a lot of times companies are doing like a multi-cloud type of environment. Does this work with that type of setup?
It does, yeah. In fact, many of our customers are running like these larger environments. They're multi-cloud, they're hybrid. And I think that is part of the reason they need a solution like this, because there's just so much complexity. There's so much overhead. There's different engineering teams involved, and they really need a shared tool to be able to help efficiently manage all of this.
Engineers tend to be somewhat skeptical in my experience. How many feel confident in using that auto scale feature without a human kind of in the loop?
Yeah. So it is interesting, right? We do take a human in the loop approach, right? So we've made sure we champion like a very safe adoption for low risk adoption for Thorus. When you deploy us, you can run us in recommendation mode where we just give you recommendations. That's something that we built in the product, but we've actually found that all of our customers and anyone that tries this out switches to run as autonomous because they immediately see, everything up front about like the scaling decisions and, how much potential and savings. So that was one thing I was wondering when we were going into this, right? Like we know the appetite is there. How quickly is this going to happen? And I was very pleasantly surprised to see that not only are we being put in production environments where, we are more useful because there's more variable traffic patterns, but we're getting put across all these different environments and engineers are actually turning to autonomous. And I think part of it is there's trust with the platform that we're not just a cost savings tool, right? We, unlike many of the other tools out there that just scale based on cost savings, what's the cheapest decision? We're taking more of that reliability first engineering approach by making sure that we're making smarter scaling decisions that are more proactive, that make sure you're covered against unexpected events, but also allow you to have that higher utilization. And I think that reliability first method is what enables so much trust in the platform.
And speaking, like a lot of SREs really want to be hands-on, I think. A lot of solutions are kind of like Blackbox. It's like, ooh, we're doing this magic here. You can't look at it. And sometimes people just want to look at it or be able to tweak it. Is that even an option or something that you think about?
Yeah, I love that you use the term black box because we always say this, especially when we're talking to customers. Anytime, especially with AI tools, right? Like there's always questions about what type of AI are you using, just different questions about is there like a black box to how all this works? I'm a big believer that if anyone ever tells you that it's a black box and we can't tell you anything, it's completely proprietary, it just takes care of everything behind the scenes, don't worry about it. That's a red flag, right? I think things should be more visible. And that's one thing we've gotten really good with our customers with balancing in our platform. There's a balance between taking care of the right tasks like scaling and automating those, that low hanging fruit that is very critical. But at the same time, giving engineers the right insights about what to look at and what to worry about. And I think striking that balance is very, very important, especially with the human in the loop, safe AI adoption that is needed for these tools today.
Nice. So I guess another question I would have is a lot of companies I speak to have like kind of cultural issues or things in place in order to be successful with the like X technology. Does a company need to have some basics in place in order to be successful with their product? Like, do they need open telemetry? Does that help? Like anything like that?
So the way we built this is we've made it pretty easy to grab any data as from it's anywhere. So we support all the major observability tools like we can, we have integrations with all of them. We can grab data from there. But also, even if you have data that's important, that's not in one of the tools, we have a way of ingesting it. So I think right now with how much the platform is matured, as long as you have data somewhere in your environment that, is helpful for making these scaling decisions, we can work off of that. So it is pretty open-ended in terms of what we can support. Today we support Kubernetes. Of course, we would love to go beyond that, but we do find that as long as you have the data, we can take care of it and help.
Cool. Also, I know a lot of times SREs sometimes complain about a lot of false positives. How do you avoid false positives or maybe even overscaling because maybe a prediction error?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is another reason, by the way, that we're using traditional machine learning, which is really good for this type of thing, right? Statistical data that, is well suited for machine learning, which is very well suited for it. But it's funny, we sometimes get questions, right? Like some folks for LLMs, right? There's a concern of hallucinations. Luckily, that is not a concern here, right? Because we're using more traditional machine learning. But of course, there's always concerns about other types of issues like the false positives. With the way that we've baked the product, you can see how well our predictions perform. And I think that visibility helps really greatly. And again, these models are constantly training, learning your patterns, your workload needs. And I think that's what's also really helping them to kind of get better, especially as they see more use cases.
Nice. Anything on your roadmap that you're excited about or that you could share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at its core today as a wedge product, we're helping engineering teams scale smarter. But our vision actually goes beyond auto scaling. We want to help engineers not only handle unpredictable traffic with ease, better plan for pushing out changes to production, making sure they're always prepared for like these big moments, right? Like product launches, viral growth, Black Friday. all these different types of surges, but without scrambling, being reactive, and overspending. So ultimately, the goal is to give developers and engineers the confidence and the data-driven decisions to move faster without breaking things, especially in today's day and age, where you have different tools that help you to write code quicker, test better. We want to make sure that we're that layer that helps you to helps engineers, give them the right insights and automation to help, run their infrastructure more efficiently so that, as these applications are pushed out quicker, they're able to run more safely in production. And so, you're better balancing performance, cost, reliability. And I think to do that, that goes beyond autoscaling. It's really essentially, building different features and products that help utilize all the data that we have today and give engineers those right insights so that they're always involved, human in the loop, to be able to run more efficiently and be more highly available.
All right. So you were a hands-on SRE for many years. Is there anything you thought, you wish you had this product when you were like hands-on, when you got a call and you're like, oh, if I only had this insight before, I would have solved this issue beforehand?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having been on call, there's so many incidents I can think of in the past where, it was just such a wild goose chase to figure out, what was the originating issue, what were the symptoms. And I believe had I had a tool like Thorus, I would have been able to take a look at the right insights and I would have been alerted into like, what were the anomalous type of patterns that, were introduced by, any changes made in the environment. Oftentimes, for example, I think once there was a incident where a developer pushed out a image that, started consuming more memory and that affected scaling and had some other downstream impacts. And it took a while to kind of figure that out, but had I had a tool like Thorus, not only would it have, scaled to make sure that it would have, taken care of that so there was no performance impacts, but also would have alerted me that, hey, this workload is affected. There was a change that was introduced that did this. It just would have been a lot quicker. And mean time to response is a very important metric. It's very critical that we cut that down in the SRE space. And that would have been much lower, I think, with a tool like Thorus.
All right, Jennifer, before we go, is there one piece of actual advice you could give to someone to help them with their DevOps SRE efforts? And what's the best way to find, contact you, or learn more about Thorus?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I always tell folks is with all the AI out there and all the demanding work that SREs have, figure out the right workflows and ways that you can use AI and embrace it. I think there's a lot of opportunities with the work that we do. And so, find the right AI for the right use case. As for finding me, feel free to check out Thorus.ai. That's our website. You'll find our docs. You can also request a demo or even try out our product if you would like and see how it works firsthand. You can connect with myself also through LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is, it's linkedin.com/in/Jennifer-Rahmani. Feel free to add me. Would love to connect.
We'll have links for all this awesomeness down below. All right, before we wrap it up, remember, frustrated users quit apps. Don't rely on bad app store reviews. Use SmartBear's Insight Hub to catch, fix, and prevent performance bottlenecks and crashes from affecting your users. Go to smartbear.com or use the link down below and try for free for 14 days, no credit card required. And for links of everything of value we covered in this DevOps Toolchain show, head on over to testguild.com/P199. So that's it for this episode of the DevOps Toolchain show. I'm Joe. My mission is to help you succeed in creating end-to-end full-stack DevOps toolchain awesomeness. As always, test everything and keep the good. Cheers. Hey, thank you for tuning in. It's incredible to connect with close to 400,000 followers across all our platforms and over 40,000 email subscribers who are at the forefront of automation, testing, and DevOps. If you haven't yet, join our vibrant community at testguild.com, where you become part of our elite circle driving innovation in software testing and automation. And if you're a tool provider or have a service looking to empower our guild with solutions that elevate skills and tackle real-world challenges, we're excited to collaborate. Visit testguild.info to explore how we can create transformative experiences together. Let's push the boundaries of what we can achieve.
The TestGuild Automation Testing Podcast. With lutes and lyres the bards began their song. A tune of knowledge, a melody of code. Through the air it spread like wildfire through the land, guiding testers, showing the secrets to behold.